Hello. I'm just driving back from Idaho. Uh, because I'm licensed in 3 separate states, there's 3 separate conversations I have to have about the rule changes in our lawsuit, all that stuff. And it's interesting seeing the different forms that you see in Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming, and the conversations that are different with my 3 brokers there as well. It's handy having 3 separate licenses because it just has a huge area that I can go and work, or people could talk to me about buying and selling a house and stuff like that. There's a huge conversation as well on maybe you shouldn't be working in Wyoming. Like maybe I shouldn't go to Evanston, Wyoming, because it's not an area that I specialize in. And I just try to say, if I ever work with a client there, I explain to them, this isn't my specialization area. The reason you'd be using me is because I communicate very well and because these other skills and I'm honest and blah, 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 blah. And if they say no, like no big deal, that's 100% their choice. And there's just nothing wrong with that for sure. And I don't necessarily always want the work that's an hour and 20 minutes away. But we've been so focused on always having work that it's interesting transitioning to not necessarily needing or wanting work all the time. But let me go back to what I was talking about. In Idaho, you've got a totally separate form that you can use for your brokerage compensation that you do in like Wyoming. And then on top of that in Utah. And the conversations are much different as well. In Idaho, it's a very small town that I'm working in kind of area. And so their conversations look different than somebody that's in Salt Lake City. And also the trials and tribulations that they've seen in the last 6 years have been totally different as well. In Pinedale, I can tell you, a lot of the conversations that are standard in Ogden, Utah about competition, about the way you communicate with clients, Pinedale, they're 20 years behind. Not 20 years, but they're 10 years behind because they don't have to have those conversations. And there's not as much competition in Pinedale in general. And I'd assume that Preston's probably somewhere in the middle because Preston, you do have a lot of competition with the agents from like Logan, Utah and stuff like that, where Pinedale, you're probably not getting a whole lot of competition from the agents at Jackson Hole. So there you go. Just interesting pondering for somebody that works in 3 separate states and kind of what it looks like when you do have a policy change that you have to go and acknowledge and then understand the different forms for the 3 states and the different rules and regulations that your broker's expecting. But that's all I got for you today. Comment down below. You know, what are some rules? What have you noticed the rules and regs changing at all in the real estate industry in the last 2 weeks? Comment that down below. Comment what your feelings are on it. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a great day.